Thank you so much for being a part of this inaugural inspirational day that the Village of Wellington is holding for Dr. King in remembrance of his birthday. And I just want to say you're going to get recharged. You're going to hear an inspiring story, and I want it to go beyond today. I want it to be something that we all take with us, and we're so proud to have everyone here. In the past, we have had a day of service. We have never not acknowledged this holiday, but we have done it differently, and today we are just, again, ramping it up, Village of Wellington style, so we're so proud to have you here today and be a part of it. I want to say that one thing, Dr. King gets credit for a lot of things, but the thing that I most identify with is persistence. He never, ever, ever gave up, no matter what happened, and that's the thing that really I think we can all take with us. It's persistence. When you know you're on the right side of an issue, you just don't drop it. You just keep going, and that's something that I think, I'm not going to do a lot of his quotes because I think we're going to hear a lot of it. I'm sure John has a few, but in the meantime, thanks again for being such an important part of this village and participating with us. Councilman McGovern.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mayor. I think the simple truth is that the legacy of Dr. King is that he made us a better people, he made us a better nation, and together, following his example, we can all become individually better. And that's what we're here to celebrate today. We're here to celebrate our community coming together as Dr. King would have wanted us to do, to show that we are stronger together. That is the real legacy of Dr. King. And so we're here today to be inspired, to do good work, to have our young people with us. And really we're here to say that this community of Wellington can always do better, and together we will do it. Thank you so much.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have some awesome presentations from our youth within the community, but first we're going to start with the video. Please stay tuned.
Dear Dr. King,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having a dream.
Thank you for having faith.
Thank you for taking action.
Because you had a dream.
I now have a voice.
You would be proud to know
that we are working on fulfilling your dream.
But we still have a ways to go.
It won't be until everybody knows
that your speech wasn't just for people that only look like
me. Or me. Or me. Your speech was meant for all individuals.
Your speech was speaking about love being poured out in the world for everyone.
So, today I make a promise.
Today, I make a promise.
Today, I make a promise.
To treat everyone with love and respect.
Regardless of who they are,
whom they love,
or what they might believe.
Let freedom ring.
Let freedom ring.
Let freedom ring.
Let freedom ring.
When we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Good morning. My name is Anissa Condi, and I am a current member of the Black Leadership Achievement Student Team. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Jasmine Milson, one of the founding members of BLAST. She is currently in the nursing program at FAU and is an inspiring ER registered nurse.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let all rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. And facing the rising sun of our new day begun. And let us march on till victory is won. And let us march on till victory is won.
Do y'all know today is Martin Luther King Day?
Of course we do. Isn't that like why we're all here?
I mean, of course that's why we're all here, but I really think what she's trying to say is, do we understand the importance behind the day?
I mean, I hope so. Martin Luther King did a lot for not only people that look like us, but for the entire nation as well.
Yeah, you're right.
You are absolutely right about that. What words did he speak that made an impact in y'all lives?
A word that made an impact on my life is, faith is taking the first step, even when you don't quite see the whole staircase. To me, this means that we shouldn't stray away from our goals because we can't quite see how it's gonna turn out, but rather take the step anyhow and be grateful for the lessons learned along the journey. What about you, Ian?
My favorite quote is, we must accept finite loss, but never always have infinite hope. And what this means to me is that we need to focus on what's truly important. Of course, in life, there's gonna be your disappointments, but you're also gonna have your successes. Of course, in life, you're gonna have your ups as well as your downs, but what's important is focusing on the future and how we move forward. I really wanna hear what Nevaeh has to say.
You're right about the ups and downs we go through in life. A quote that sticks out to me is, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. See, we as humans internalize all the negativity in this world, but when we allow ourselves to think positively about our situation, everything changes for us. See, I think differently than most. There is power in positivity. My glass may be half full and it will never be half empty. I am too blessed to be stressed. Chris, you're awfully quiet. What words do you have to say?
Nah, Christian definitely doesn't have anything to say.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Yeah, for sure. See, the words that stuck out to me the most were, we must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools. This means to me that we must learn how to stick together. It means we must learn how to love one another, not for our similarities, but truly for our differences. No longer do we need to stand against each other, but stand alongside one another, hand in hand.
Wow, that was powerful. I believe each quote is. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke great words that we can all live by. I'm happy today that not only are we living by those words, but each individual in this room is living by those words too. Ladies and gentlemen, happy Martin Luther King Day. My name is Nevaeh Baker, and I am the Youth of the Year for the Neil S. Hirsch Boys and Girls Club here in Wellington.
My name is Christian Armstrong, and I am the Youth of the Year for the Florence DeGeorge Boys and Girls Club.
My name is Phil Jean, and I'm a 2023 swag student, and I attend the Neil S. Hirsch Boys and Girls Club here in Wellington.
And just like you, we have a dream. Thank you.
They tried to kill the dream when they shot down Dr. King. But the dream he preached remains alive in spite of everything. The dream of equal justice, of freedom, of liberty, the dream that all the world can live as one community. In spite of all the hatred, suspicion, rage, and strife, the dream is still there for all who wish to live a better life. Though Martin Luther King is dead, the dream he preached lives still in the hearts of all good people, and there it always will. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Azaria Williams, and I am a senior at Wellington High School, and I have a dream. And that dream is to become a veterinarian. But I also have another dream, and that dream is to break boundaries. I stand before you as the first female to play tackle football on the varsity level at Wellington High School. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a dream, I am that dream, and I am living that dream. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stacy. I attend Wellington Community High School. I'm a part of the Black Leadership Achievement Student Team there. Today I will be presenting a spoken word. This spoken word does come with a background, as you may all know, that a couple months back, someone tried to attempt the Martin Luther King house, and that stood out to me because it shows how we disregarded where the dream first came from in that house. So it presents to me that, with that, I present to you the title of this spoken word, The Man in the Home. I don't live there, and you don't either, but our history does. Most call it a place of entertainment nowadays. Most just say it's an historic house, yet my history says it's where a man walked in and out thinking about me and you before he even knew us. No, he's not God, but he believed in him too. My history also says this is not a house, but a home to those who marched beside the man who lived in it. Evil and good came out of that home, those home doors, but also did equality and freedom. A dream came out of that home that was told by the man in that home. No regular dream, but a dream that shapes our future and makes the world around us feel the love that first came from that home. That home belonged to a man named Martin Luther King Jr. I lived there, and so did you, not physically, but our history does, and it still do. Thank you.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, a speech by Anna Guillaume.
August 28th, 1963, around 250,000 people gathered together, all different backgrounds, all different lifestyles, all different colors. But they came together for one purpose, and that purpose was to change the course of history for the better, and to ensure that future generations live in a country where their rights are protected. During the March on Washington, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. And 56 years later, we still have those same dreams he did. We have a dream that the sons of former slave owners and former slaves will sit together on the table of brotherhood. We have a dream that even in a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will one day be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. We have a dream that little Black children won't be judged on the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And today, I have dreams of myself. I have a dream that our ancestors will look at us and be proud of what we have achieved, and will see that we have transformed the world into something that they have always dreamed of living in. I have a dream that little Black boys and girls will be able to look at themselves and other Black people and be proud of who they are, where they came from, and will love themselves. I have a dream that the history of my people will be taught truthfully, without pushback from those who believe that it's not important or controversial. And finally, I have a dream that we will see this day as not just some miscellaneous holiday, but as an opportunity to honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and service our community, as we will do today. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to give a round of applause to the ladies and the gentlemen that took part for our student presentations. Can we do that quickly? And I'd like to bring to the stage our mayor to go ahead and introduce our awesome guest speaker for the day.
Thank you, Ian. We are so proud to have Winston Scott here today. They're supposed to text me his bio, so I would have it to read for you, but it has not come through my phone. But I have a feeling that even if I read it to you or told you about this man, okay, John's going to help me out. But no matter what I have to say after this, I want you to know there's so much more to this man, and we are going to get more of it after this short bio is read. Okay, John, it went to sleep.
I got you.
Okay, all right. Here we go. Yes, thank you. And I do not have presbyopia yet, which is a miracle unto itself. As a 60-year-old woman, I can still read those little letters. Winston Elliott Scott. He served as a mission specialist on STS-72 in 1996 and STS-87 in 1997, logged a total of 24 days, 14 hours, and 34 minutes in space, including 3 spacewalks, totaling 19 hours and 26 minutes. Often known by his nickname of Win, I'm going to remember that one too, he was also a naval aviator and initially flew helicopters and later transitioned to fighter aircraft. Today, I would like to bring to the stage Winston Scott. Thank you so much, Win, for being here today. Whoops, we had a little trick for you there.
I know. That's dangerous, isn't it? All right, thank you very much. And good morning to you all. I am so very, very happy to be here with you today. I thoroughly enjoyed the presentation by the students from the high school, from the Black Leadership Group, and I especially resonate with those of you who are Boys and Girls Club Students of the Year. I was a club kid back in Miami, back in the day, and it was a Southwest Boys Club back in Miami, so I can resonate with that. And I went to the boys' club. Back then, it was just the boys' club. Some of you old enough to remember. It wasn't boys and girls, just the boys' club, because the idea was that the boys are the ones that needed this extra attention to keep you off the streets out of trouble and so on. So if you hear me say the boys' club, that's because that's my paradigm. But anyway, I resonate with that. Of course, this is a very, very, very special day to us all. Dr. King gave us all so much, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But let me tell you a little bit more about my experience in space, because when you're hearing astronaut talk, you want to hear a little bit about flying in space. So I'll tell you about that. My first space flight was on Endeavour, and it was 28 years ago. In fact, 28 years ago today, I was in orbit. We launched on the 11th of January. That's right, my first space flight. So we launched on the 11th of January, and we were still up today. And what happens is we fly in from Houston. You know, all active astronauts live in Houston, not Cocoa Beach. Those of you who remember I Dream of Jeannie, those old crazy astronauts live in Cocoa. No, real astronauts live in Houston. We fly in from Houston, and we're quarantined up at Kennedy Space Center for 8 days before going into space. And the quarantine is obvious. It keeps you healthy before you launch in orbit. The night before launch is just like Christmas Eve when you're a little kid and you're waiting on Santa Claus to come. You can't sleep. You toss and turn all night long. Finally, alarm gets you up, and you get up, you bathe, and get dressed, and you have breakfast. Most of us have the traditional astronaut breakfast, steak and eggs. Some people don't nowadays. We have some vegetarians, some vegans, and so on, but most of us have steak and eggs. We finish our breakfast, and we put on our orange launch and entry suits. You may have seen those big orange suits on TV. Those are the suits that we wore when we launched into orbit and when we returned from orbit. Then we get a weather brief, and we'll go and ride the crew transport vehicle out to the launch pad. And you've seen the crew transport vehicle, the little silver bus that takes astronauts out to the launch pad. As you're riding out to the pad, and this was in the middle of the night for us, as we launched in darkness, we could see just miles ahead, we could see the shuttle on the launch pad waiting for us. It was lit up by spotlights. And as we got closer, we could see the fumes from the liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen overflow, sort of smoking out of the bottom of it. When we approached the pad, we got off the bus and we walked up to the elevator. When you get close to it, not only do you see the fumes, but you can hear it. You can hear it venting. And it almost sounds like an animal, like a beast asleep, waiting to be awakened. We ride up the elevator to the 195-foot level. And as you're riding up, it's not an enclosed elevator like in this building. It's open. There's gate, openings. You can look down and see how high you are. You can look out and see the horizon and so on. We walk out of the elevator and across a little gangplank into what we call the white room. I guess it's called the white room because it's painted white. There are suit technicians in there, and they help you get partially suited up. They'll get my torso harness on, which we integrate with a parachute and so on. And the shuttle, like all rockets, sat up on its tail. So you had to climb in and sort of wiggle up into your seat with your feet up in the air. So you need somebody in there to help you. There's an astronaut inside to help you get strapped in. That person is not going to fly. They're there just to help you get strapped in. They get my helmet on, get my gloves on, get my suit plugged in, get the straps on, and they remove all the extemporaneous stuff out of the vehicle, the stuff that's not going to fly with you. We get into the vehicle probably about 3 hours before actual liftoff. Finally, the astronaut support person will close the hatch. He or she and the suit technicians will back the gangplank away. They'll leave the pad, and there's nobody there but you, your crew, and the rocket ready to launch. And you're lying on your back for 2.5, 3 hours as the clock continues to count down. The real action starts about 7 seconds before liftoff. You're lying there on your back, and you can watch the clock count down, and you can hear the countdown in your headset. At 7 seconds, the engines begin to ignite. The computers are doing the ignition of the 3 main engines, and it starts to shake and vibrate, and smoke and fire begins to billow up around the windscreen as the clock is counting down. And just about the time you say to yourself, aren't we supposed to be going someplace? The clock hits 0 and the solid rocket boosters explode. When you see it on TV, it looks like the rocket sort of floats up in slow motion. In reality, it jumps off the pad. Surprised me on my first flight. Kicked you in the butt. You pass 100 miles per hour before you clear the tower. Then you roll over kind of upside down to rocket across the horizon, passing Mach 1, the speed of sound, in roughly 45 seconds. And it never stops accelerating. We go to Mach 2, Mach 3, Mach 4, and so on. At 2 minutes after liftoff, the throttles will come down. The computers will throttle engines down, and then there's a big explosion. Sounds like a cannon, and there's bright flash outside. Give you a heart attack if you weren't expecting it. But the solid rocket boosters are done. They're exploding away from the vehicle to be reused again, and then the throttles come back up, and the main engines push you back into your seat again, and you begin to accelerate into orbit on the main engines. So you pass Mach 5, Mach 6, Mach 8, Mach 10, Mach 12. Mach 13, Mach 14, Mach 15. You go so fast and so high that Mach number doesn't mean anything. There's no air up there. So now we start to measure our velocity in feet per second, thousands of feet per second. So we go all the way up to 25,800 feet every second. Let that sink in now. 25,800 feet per second, or 17,500 miles per hour in only 8.5 minutes. It is an eye-watering ride. I mentioned the fact that we launched at night, so it was dark outside, but about halfway through the ascent, I could look out of the front windows and see the day half of the Earth coming. So we launched at night, we go through the terminator, that little gray area between night and day, and they wind up into daylight, all in under 8.5 minutes. Amazing ride. Once you're in orbit, once you hit your target, because you're launching into a particular place in orbit, particular spot, in a particular direction at a particular speed, once you reach that, then you can go to MECO, main engine cutoff. You've been pushed back into your seat, but then the throttles will come down and the engines will shut off. At that point, the acceleration releases, you're no longer pushed into your seat, and you kind of spring forward a little bit. Then when all of the motion settles down, everything, including you, begins to float. But your seatbelt's holding you in. So I was the first person on the flight deck to get out of my seat because I had some tasks to perform. I remember my very first flight, again, getting out of my seat, and I started to flail all over the place. I wasn't used to zero gravity. I take my helmet off, it floats away. I take my gloves off, they float away. I'm trying to grab my stuff and put it back in. And our commander was sitting right here. He was an experienced astronaut. Obviously, I'm on my first flight. He looks back at me, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, man, I just got to space, and already I'm going to get chewed out. He broke into this big grin, and he says, welcome to zero G. I relaxed, grabbed all my stuff, and put it away, and began to acclimate. Space is an amazing place, and you do some amazing things up there. And we did some of everything you can think about. We deployed satellites. We retrieved satellites. We took laboratory mice into space with us. We grew plants in space, crystals in space, Earth observation experiments. You name it, we did it. And as you heard during the introduction, I was a spacewalker. That was one of my specialties. So I got to go out and do my first spacewalk on that flight. I performed 2 spacewalks on my second flight. One of the most important things that I did during my spacewalks was retrieve a satellite. This was on my second flight out of Columbia. And we had taken this 3,000-pound, $10 million solar observation satellite into space with us. Our job was to deploy it, and we deployed it using the shuttle's mechanical arm. See, the satellite, it's a big thing. It's about the size of a car. So it's inside the payload bay, the cargo bay. Our robot arm operator would use the mechanical arm to reach into the bay, bring this big satellite up, place it in the orbit. Then we initialize it, back away from it for 48 hours. We'd go off and do some other stuff. It was supposed to make measurements of the sun's corona. Then we would fly back up to it. She would use the mechanical arm to grab the satellite, put it back into the bay. Then we could bring it home. Scientists, after flight, could download its data, study the data, and learn more about the sun. Satellite malfunctioned. And in its malfunction, it developed a very slow turn in space. It was spinning very slowly because 3,000 pounds worth of spinning. And it was spinning with what we call complex motion. So it would turn in one direction, then undergo a nutation and turn in another direction, undergo another nutation, another direction. So you've got a 3,000-pound thing just sort of wobbling all over space, very slowly. But it was wobbling, which means we couldn't catch it with the arm. Long story short is that it was decided that the way we get that satellite back is my buddy and I would go outside and try and catch it manually. Now, I was the lead spacewalker because I had been up before, My buddy was on his first space flight, first space walk. We're asking him to go out and catch a satellite. And he was from Japan, so English was his second language for him. Over the next several days, the teamwork was incredible. We had people on the ground analyzing the motion of the satellite, devising a way for us to catch it, and we in space were practicing how we might catch this thing. And because English was a second language, I had to practice with him what I was going to say. If you and I were out there, we could use a number of different terminologies, but for him, I had to practice what I was going to say and say the same thing so that it would not be confusing. Also, space is relative. His name was Takao, for example, but just to give you more detail, Takao. I couldn't say, Takao, let's move the satellite up. Well, up, which direction is up? If we're upside down to the Earth, which we are, is up towards the Earth, is up out. I couldn't say move it left or right. You had to say port or starboard. I couldn't say to rotate the satellite. You know, we had to agree on the terminology. Finally, also the State Department had to get permission from the Japanese government for him to go out and do this. Well, all the pieces fell together. And finally, the morning of the space launch came about, and Takao and I entered the airlock, put our spacesuits on, and we went outside, and we perched ourselves on either side of the space shuttle. So the space shuttle is moving in that direction. We're back here in the cargo bay. I'm on one side of the bay. He's on the other side. We lock our boots into foot restraints to keep our bodies from floating away. We have our hands free. Bodies are anchored, and we're flying in that direction at 17,500 miles per hour. There's the satellite up there. Our commander and pilot flew a rendezvous up towards the satellite, and then we paused there and watched it. And I can remember it very clearly as if it were yesterday. I took over then and began to tell him where to place us. Our commander was named Kevin Kriegel, Air Force pilot by background. I can remember the satellite would drift aft, and I'd say, Kevin, the satellite is about 5 feet aft, and he'd fire the reaction control jets and move us. And I'd say, okay, hold. Now the satellite is drifting up out of the bay, move us up. He'd fire the rockets, move us, okay, hold. Now Kevin, rotate the shuttle port, and so on, and he would rotate the shuttle. So long story short is we finally got in position, and NASA gave us a go, and then I took over and gave the command to Cal. On my command, let's grab the satellite. Stand by, capture. I have my end, he said he has his end, and we grabbed it, we rotated that satellite forward, locked it into the bay, and brought it home. Now, there's a whole lot more to it than that. I told you, I gave you the 20-second version of catching it, where the whole thing took about 3.5 hours of spacewalking to catch that satellite. And it's one of those incredibly pivotal moments in a person's life when they're faced with something that's daunting, and you very easily shy away from it, or you could take it on. And I can remember being the lead spacewalker. NASA actually gave me the final say. I was the one that's up there. You know, we don't have to do this. I could have said, no, this is, you probably don't want to take a risk on this. You know, Takao is new, he's Japanese, and around, we're not. Absolutely not. Hey, you got the A-team. There's nobody better qualified than me and Takao to go out and do this thing. So it was one of those moments that you're faced with in life when you either step up to the plate and hit that ball, or you watch it go by. And I'm so glad that we did what we did, because we got that satellite, we got that mission accomplished, and we brought it home. I guess it's something that will stay with me the rest of my life. I had no intention of refusing it, but every once in a while I think what it must feel like for people who are faced with a challenge, faced with an opportunity, and they're afraid to take that opportunity. I bet it haunts them the rest of their lives, and I don't want any of us in here to be faced with that and be haunted the rest of our lives. But anyway, space is an amazing place, and flying in space literally changes your life. It literally changed my life and changed the lives of those who are related to me, those who are friends, and people who don't even know me, and we can talk about that a little bit later. But let me conclude my remarks here, because we're going to do some Q&A here in just a little bit, by saying that we're here to commemorate the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King. Now, Dr. King did not get to fly in space, but because of Dr. King's work, I got to do the things that I got to do, and many of you have the opportunity to do the things that you have the opportunity to do. If Dr. King were here today, what would he say? I think I kind of know some of the things he said because we know what he said in the past. We know what he would say today. He would reiterate those. I remember one specific speech, and I heard it on recording. I never met Dr. King in real life. But one of his speeches had to do with being your best, doing the best that you can do. And I think he used the example of a ditch digger, either a ditch digger or street sweeper. In the old days, I guess, long before any of us in here, ditches were dug by hand, right? And it was considered menial labor, probably the lowest form of labor in the community. You didn't have to have any education, any skill. But Dr. King was saying, even if you're a ditch digger, be the best ditch digger that you can. Do the best that you can. My father was my first mentor, and I can remember him telling us kids, you got to get ahead. Do the best that you can. Don't do the bare minimum. Go beyond. He said, if the teacher gives you 10 problems to work, you work 20. If the teacher gives you 10 pages to read, you read 20. So I think if Dr. King were here today, he would say that. Be the best that you can be. Go above and beyond the call of duty. I also think Dr. King would say, be bold. I like Star Trek. I'm a Star Trek fan. I'm not a nut. You know, I don't have any plastic ears and all that stuff. But I like Star Trek. And one of the things I like about the very beginning of it, when the narrator says to boldly go where no one has gone before, I like that word bold. And to our young people in the audience, you should be bold. Quite often, when I have Q&A sessions, people will ask me, were you scared? Were you afraid? No, I wasn't scared. I was excited. Now, don't get me wrong. I get the butterflies inside. I'm a normal human being, but I was not afraid. Young people should not be afraid to try new things, okay? Don't be afraid to stretch yourselves and go new places and do new things. Don't do dumb stuff to get yourself killed, but don't be afraid to try new things and unusual things to stretch and build yourself. Be bold. Also, I think I know Dr. King would say, embrace others. Embrace others who don't look like you. He said that before, but he would say that if he were here today. And my challenge to all of us is, it's easy to stand up and say those words, but how many people actually do it? Do we really reach out and embrace people that don't look like us? You know, I applaud what you're doing with the Black leadership team. I like it. I was an inaugural member of the Florida State University Black Student Union. I'm a member of the National Naval Officers Association, which is a largely black organization. But my question, and don't answer it, just think about it, is there a white leadership group? Is there a Hispanic leadership group? If so, why are they separate? Why isn't the Hispanic leadership group here too? Why isn't the white leadership group here too? Why? And you did an outstanding program. You folks are so talented. I'm proud of you, so don't take this the wrong way. But why didn't we have some white students up here and some Hispanic students up here? Because Dr. King's dream was about all of us together. Too often, we, and it's largely my people, I'm black, so I can say it, we segregate ourselves. Every organization we belong to, we have to form a separate black organization. Okay, I challenge us to get away from that. I'm not saying you shouldn't have your group, but it should not function in the way that it excludes others or separates us. You with me? What I'm trying to say? I still fly. I'm not an active duty. You heard I was a naval aviator. So I still fly. I own more than one airplane. Most of the time I fly myself where I need to go. We just recently formed a black pilots group. So once a month we get together, it's just the black pilots in the area, and we have breakfast. That's fine. But I also get together with the non-black pilots. You know, I go to some of the other fly-ins and things, but it's hard for me to get the rest of my group to branch out and let's go and have breakfast with pilots in general. Why do we always have to separate ourselves out? So my challenge to us, and I think Dr. King would say this, is embrace those who don't look like you. If all of your friends look like you, your circle of friends is way too small. Some of the closest. A friend is somebody that not necessarily look like you, but a friend is somebody that will stick up for you, that will go through pain for you, that you can call at 1 o'clock in the morning and they'll come help you. That's a friend. Some of the best friends I have don't look like me. When I was applying to the astronaut program, some of the people that helped me the most did not look like me. Some of them do look like me. I challenge all of us to open up and truly embrace Dr. King's dream, not to just come here once a year and say those words. Open yourself up. When I attend conferences, and I belong to some corporate boards and things, so I'm going to conferences quite often, I don't always hang around with the people from my company. You guys go to conferences sometime too, and what happens at lunchtime? Everybody from this group sits together. Everybody from that group sits together. Everybody, no, I deliberately find a table with people I don't know. Like I said, may I sit here? What's your name? My name is Winston. Now, it's not easy, it's uncomfortable. But that's what we need to do. It helps us to stretch, and it helps Dr. King's dream. That's how we pursue his dream. I'm going on and on. I'm going to say some other things that I think Dr. King would say. I'd like to encourage all of us, especially young people, to be future-oriented. Too often, Black History Month programs, MLK programs, focus on the past. And that's natural because we're talking about a person who's passed away. We're honoring a man who did some great things during his lifetime. That's in the past. But the key is not to be stuck in the past. The key is to use what he did in the past to propel us towards the future. We should be looking out towards the future. So I challenge all of us, especially our young people, is to look forward. Don't get stuck looking in the past. And it's real easy to do because we actually have leaders, so-called leaders in our country at the highest levels of government who telling us we ought to be looking backwards. They're telling you that you're still back there. You guys with me? I need to spell it out more than that. Okay? If anybody stands up and tell you you can't do something because of the color of your skin, don't believe them. You can do anything you want to do. Anything you want to do, you can do it. Don't believe people who say they won't let us do this. No, the only person stopping you is you. You can do anything at all you want to do this day and age. So I like what I hear. The young lady says she wants to be a veterinarian. Okay, that's great, and some of you have other dreams. That's good, but my point is as we reflect on the past, let's reflect on the past only in that it propels us into the future and deal with a real future, reality, not rhetoric you hear on TV or you hear from so-called leaders, because a leader that tells you you can't do something or somebody's going to stop, that's not a leader. That person is not helping you. Okay, I'm here to tell you, any one of you can do anything you want to do. You're leaders. I could tell that by the way you stood up here and what you said. You're the leaders. You winners. You're not. So future orientation, and don't let anyone limit you. Last, I'm not going to go too long, but set goals. I like what I heard. I heard one young lady again. I remember the veterinarian goal, but there's some other goals I know. People want to do certain things. Don't let anybody turn you around. Somebody said Dr. King's the favorite word was perseverance. That's one of my favorite words. Perseverance. Perseverance means you never, 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 never give up. People read my bio, and I was a condensed bio. If you go online and read my long bio, you probably say, oh man, this guy is amazing. He's Clark Kent personified. But what you don't see is all the difficulties that I overcame, the stumbling blocks, all the time that things weren't going too well for me, and I had to overcome those. That's what you don't see. And when something went wrong for me, it wasn't always because I'm black. Some things happened to me because I was black. I went to segregated schools. But some things happened to me that were bad. It didn't have anything to do with my color. Some things went wrong because that's just how life is. White people have bad things happen to them. Hispanic people have bad things happen to them. Tall people, short people, brown, blue, green, yellow, old, brown, everybody. So when something bad happens to you, don't whine about it. Pick up, challenge that obstacle, and overcome that obstacle. And it takes guts, it takes desire, it takes hustle, and it's not easy. It's real easy to do nothing. It's real easy to give up. It's real easy to succumb. But I guarantee you, if you look at people who've been successful in life, pick any of them. I don't care who it is. Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, may he rest in peace. Barack Obama, Steve Forbes, Bill Gates. I don't care who it is. I guarantee you, somewhere in their lives, something bad went wrong. Something bad happened, and they had to overcome it. Albert Einstein had dyslexia. Had to overcome that, just as an example. So the point is, when bad things happen, don't succumb to it, persevere, never, 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 never give up. I could go, I could go on and on and on and on and on, but as you can see, I think I've made my point. I'm very passionate about this because I want to see, especially our young people, continue to go forward and succeed. And I know that's what you're going to do. As I look around at these young people over here and the few others that are scattered about the room, I know I'm looking at a room of winners. I know that. I know you all are bright students, you're brilliant, and you're going to continue to do great and wonderful things. And as you do those great and wonderful things, spread that joy, that perseverance, spread these things that Dr. King taught us to the next generation that's coming behind you, and to your peers out there who are not in your organization, or who are not attending your school, or who are not Boys and Girls Club members. Spread that out to others so that they can achieve success too. When I give speeches, people always want to, or when I write autographs, people always want you to write something anecdotal, reach for the stars, or whatever. And I like to write reach for the stars because it represents the epitome of what you can achieve. If you, all of us, will do the things that Dr. King taught us, I mean do them, not just say them once a year, then there's no doubt each and every one of us can reach our star, whatever that happens to be. So thanks again for having me out. That concludes my formal remarks. Oh, no, absolutely. I'm all set. How are we going to do this? You want to? Thank you. Sure, absolutely. All right.
Thank you so much for that outstanding presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service in the military. I was wondering if you could discuss more about your career trajectory and what prepared you through your military service to become an astronaut, because only 1 in a trillion people become an astronaut.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida, and I went to college. I was one of the first African-American students to integrate Florida State University. There were only, yeah. There are only onesies and twosies there before me, but I went to FSU as a freshman in 1968. And I went because I was a good music student. I was an outstanding music student. My schools in Miami were segregated up through 9th grade. Now, people think segregation was way. No, it wasn't. I'm not all that old. And segregation was, some of you remember those days. In 10th grade, schools integrated, and those of us who were at Carver, historically black high school, transferred over to Coral Gables Senior High School, which had been historically white. Coral Gables High School had an outstanding band program. A guy by the name of Bill Ledoux was in charge of the Coral Gables High School band program. Mr. Ledoux went on to work for Jackie Gleason Enterprises and Orange Bowl Committee and so on. Anyway, I was an outstanding musician. Mr. Ledoux made a phone call to the dean of the College of Music at Florida State University, and I was accepted, no audition or anything, to study music. Now, I was always a kid that was interested in technology. I was always trying to build things and curious about batteries and motors, electricity. But we didn't have any programs in those days to introduce kids to engineering, especially minorities. I didn't know what engineering was. I got to Florida State and sort of discovered engineering. My roommate was an engineering major, and I happened to glance over his shoulder one night, and something down here says, I'm supposed to be doing that. That's literally how it happened. And the other side of my brain said, dude, stop. You're going to be a musician. You're going to be Quincy Jones or somebody like that, Miles Davis. But he just kept nagging and nagging and nagging. So, long story short, is I started taking math and science and engineering as an overload. I was taking 21 hours a quarter because I was taking calculus in addition to music theory because I was so interested in engineering. Had to graduate, didn't have time to finish both majors, and was trying to figure out a way to continue going to college. Vietnam War was going on, but something in the back of my mind, because I had no guidance, no one I could sit and talk to, something in the back of my mind says, military, I understand, will send people to school. Yep, there's a war going on. People are ducking and dodging the war. But something inside of me said, no, that's what you're supposed to do. And I said to myself, if I go in the military, what will I do? I don't know anything about the military, and something said pilot. I said, yeah, pilot would be cool. I like airplanes. Maybe I'll be a pilot. Never been in a cockpit of an airplane before in my life. So anyway, went to the Air Force, went to the Navy, applied to both places, took the test, did real well because I'd taken all that calculus and stuff in college. And the Navy responded first. I was off to Pensacola, the Naval Aviation Officer Candidate School. Got my wings, flew helicopters for a while, and then the Navy sent me to graduate school. I finished my undergraduate courses and then my master's degree in aeronautical engineering. Then went back and flew fighters for a while, then became what's called a test pilot, an aerospace engineering specialist. I was a production test pilot, then experimental test pilot. And then by that time, I was senior enough and had enough experience to apply to NASA as an astronaut and was selected. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, too, but how I got to the space program. Now let me expand on that again too, especially for young people. I think what you're supposed to do is inside of you. I think when God puts us here, He puts us here for a reason. Everybody has a purpose when they come here. The key is you have to find what your purpose is. And I managed to find mine. If you had walked into my little segregated school, nobody would have looked back in our neighborhood and said, somebody in here is going to do something unusual. And if they walked into my elementary or junior or even my integrated high school, nobody would have picked me and say he's going to do something unusual. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't a bad student. I would have gone to college, I would have done fine. But nobody would have picked me out. So God has a purpose for all of us, and quite often He uses people that you least expect to do things that are so unusual. So my point to you is, whatever it is you're supposed to do, you need to find it. Search around, experiment around, explore all things, and get in touch with what's inside of you. You will find out what you're here for. And if you find that, you will be successful, whatever it is. The problem with too many of our youth, especially minority youth, is that we're chasing somebody else's dream. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to be a ball player. Everybody wants to be a rapper. Everybody wants to be a whatever. Maybe you're supposed to be a doctor. Or maybe you should be a professor. Or maybe you should be a nurse. Find out what it is inside of you and do it, and I guarantee you, you'll go as high in your profession as anybody could ever go. Long answer to a short question, but that's what I'm here for today. Where are we with the microphone?
Good morning.
Where
Over
are
here.
you?
Hello. Hi.
Oh, I see. So all I can see is a sea of faces up here. So all right, go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So my question is a little bit simpler. First, I want to thank you for giving such a detailed description on your journey right throughout before you go into the spacecraft. So how should I ask this? Let's be honest. So as you're in the bus going to the spacecraft, then you get in and you get strapped down, and then everyone leaves, and then you're going up Mark 1, Mark 2. Suppose you have to use the bathroom. Are you good? Are you say, let me? I changed my mind.
Yeah. Well, you can't change your mind because it's too late now. You're gone. So,
that's so it's a,
and if you have to use the bathroom, that's too bad. You have to hold it for the entire 16 days you're up there. Nah, I'm kidding.
That was my question.
No, actually, the answer is simple. NASA has all kind of special urine collection devices. I mean, these things are fancy. The best thing to do is we wear disposable diapers. That's right.
Oh, interesting.
That's right. And they're not the stock ones you buy up at Publix, but the same technology. But they're enhanced. And they
Okay.
do work. They absorb that urine and they collect it and so on. On my spacewalk, when I described a little bit about a spacewalk, and we called that satellite. At that time, that was one of the longest spacewalks in the program, almost 8 hours long. But when you do a spacewalk, if you do 6, 7, 8 hours, that means you're inside the suit for maybe 9, 10 hours. And you have to use the bathroom. Yeah, you just wear disposable diapers. And they do work. A larger question is how to use the bathroom. I know everybody's curious about that. I'll abbreviate it. We have a toilet in space. The toilet, if you see it, you'll recognize it. But it's not like your toilet at home. There's no water in it. Water would float all over the place. Works on a vacuum, like a vacuum cleaner. You turn this thing on, and the fan spins up, creates suction. You urinate into a urinal hose through a funnel into a hose. And we have hoses that fit little boys and hoses that fit little girls. Each person, a funnel. Each person has their own funnel. You put the funnel on the hose and you urinate into it, and it takes that water and puts it into a storage tank. If you have to defecate, obviously you have to sit down, but you have to strap yourself to the toilet. You don't want to go floating away in the middle of your business. So you strap yourself down, you use the toilet. The toilet is an amazing piece of engineering. It takes the solid waste, and the solid waste is freeze-dried and stored in a storage tank. The liquid is put in a liquid tank, and we don't dump that solid stuff out. We bring it back and it's disposed of on the ground. Now, there's a lot more to it than I'm telling you, but that's kind of it in a nutshell. Somebody on the crew has to know how to repair the toilet, because if it breaks, you can't call Roto-Rooter or Mr. Plumber. Where are we with the questions? Somebody got to wave so I can see you. Where are we? All right.
Thank you so much for your answers. I just wanted to ask, did anyone think that you were crazy for wanting to go into space?
No, they didn't think I was crazy for wanting to go. I think people just couldn't believe it when I took the path that I did, because I can remember leaving college, having applied to the military. Some of my friends would say, "Man, you going into the." I want to. Maybe I'm being a little bit blunt, but I want to give you an idea of how thinking was. This was in 1972. Again, Vietnam was still going on, and some of my friends say, "You going to the white man's war?" Oh yeah, that's kind of what they thought. They thought I was crazy for doing something like that. So. And then later on, when I was selected by NASA, I didn't tell anybody that I had applied. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's another story too. But when it came out that I was selected, of course, it impacted so many lives in a positive manner. And as my career progressed, people understood, and they were very, very supportive. But the point I'd like to make here is that you can't allow other people to place limitations on you. Mm-hmm. If I had listened to my so-called friends, I would not have gone into the Navy as an aviator, and probably would not have become an astronaut. Now, you don't have to go to the military, but that was my route. Many astronauts are military test pilots. And so my point is, you have to decide what you want to do, and don't let anybody else tell you what to do, because they can't see, they don't know what's inside of you. So that's the point I want to make. And no, most people didn't necessarily think I was crazy. Most people, as I progressed through, admired what I was doing, because what I did in the Navy, people pay money to go to the movies to watch actors pretend to do what I did for real. If you ever seen the movies Top Gun, that's what I did for real. Tom Cruise is an actor. I'm a real Navy Top Gun. That's what I did in the Navy.
Period.
I'm going to digress a little bit too. My son, or our son, my wife and I, our son is a naval aviator, and he was a Top Gun instructor, and he just left the USS Carl Vinson. You know, the Carl Vinson is overseas right now, along with the Ike, and the Gerald Ford, I think, is the other. He was the Air Wing Commander. Aircraft carrier has about 80 to 100 airplanes on the aircraft carrier. My son commanded all of them. They all reported to him. Wow. Okay, so he's been a squadron skipper. And if you saw the newest Top Gun movie, Tom Cruise, how many of you saw the new one? Yeah, my son commanded the squadron that did the flying. No, the real flying was done by Navy pilots. The actors just pretending. Navy pilots were flying. He was the commanding officer of the pilots and the airplanes that flew in that movie, Top Gun. So Anybody that talks about limitations and what we can't do, don't believe it. I just gave you an example of something that we can. Okay, where are we with the microphone? All right.
First, want to thank the City of Wellington for doing this program. It's been wonderful.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for having me.
And you are the perfect inaugural speaker for this event, so I wanted to first say that. And I had a question. You know, we're living in challenging days right now, and you talked about you've had many difficult days, whether it's a quote or words. What did you hear when you were facing the most challenging times in your life, and could you share that with us today?
It's difficult to put in the words because you say, what did I hear? It's really down inside of you. It's what I felt more than what I heard. And even at a point in my Navy career when I was thinking about getting out of the Navy, at one point I was thinking about leaving the Navy, maybe go fly for the airlines, because things were just going so badly. Something inside of me told me, and I'll try to articulate it because it wasn't words, it was a feeling. I said to myself, I'm this far down in my career, but something told me that things can turn around, and however down you are, there's a potential for being that much up. So if you way down, things are not going well, you're at the end of your rope. If you don't give up, the possibility exists that you can be that much up. That's the way I thought about it to myself. And sure enough, you know, I worked through those hard times. I did not give up, and look what happened. So again, a lot of what you should do and what is wise and right for you, you don't hear in terms of words. It's down inside of you. So you have to kind of get quiet. You have to be honest with yourself, get down inside of yourself and listen to your intuition, because 9 out of 10 times that gut feeling, that intuition that's telling you to do something, 9 out of 10 times is right. And if you follow it and don't let anybody else deter you, because people will derail you. You follow your intuition. You do what's right for you and you'll be successful. Where are we?
Right over here.
All right.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Karen Morris Clark, and I'm running for council seat number 4 in Wellington. Mr. Scott, thank you for being here, and welcome to Wellington.
Thank you.
As a minority in the running for council, I wanted to get your encouragement and your advice as to how do I go ahead toward this challenge that I have running for council seat in Wellington, and advice for all these younger ones that will be coming behind me and following in my footsteps.
Well, good luck to you in your quest to become a council person. I don't think I can say anything more than I've already said, and I think you already know the answer. And the answer is to continue doing what you're doing. When you campaign, you actually truly and honestly campaign with the good of the community in mind, and you convey that to the community, and you campaign to. I feel kind of bad saying this because I think you're already doing this, but sometimes people don't. They campaign to one side of the community. You know, we hear people in Washington, D.C., well, I'm going to campaign to the Democrats, so the Republicans, they're nasty old people over there. We don't want to campaign to them. Or somebody says, I'm going to campaign to the Republicans, the Democrats, they're nasty old people. I'm not going to Republican. And then somebody says, well, I'm an independent. They both are nasty. I'm not going to. No. Service should be about everybody, truly down inside everybody. And we have seen in recent decades that people will vote not based on color or background. People will vote based on honesty and sincerity, on you willing to serve and make things better for them. And again, I know you know this already, but when you reach out to people, that sincerity about embracing everybody and be a council representative for everybody, that is the most important. And I put that out back to our young people too, as you're growing up and you're forming your views, be sure what you do is embracing everybody. That's what Dr. King was trying to teach us. Yeah. I've got plenty of time. I don't want to run over your schedule, so I go until you guys tell me my time is up. Where are we? Up
Here. Hi. I was wondering if there are any common misconceptions in your line of work.
Common misconceptions in my line of work?
Yeah.
I'm sure there probably are. I can't think of any that would be negative. I hear your question. I hear your words. But do you want to elaborate some more? What do you think? You asked me a question. You must have something in mind, like what?
About like how people train, how they might travel in space.
How what? One more time.
how people like train to be an astronaut or how you may travel in space?
Okay, when you said misconceptions, I think people don't have any misconceptions. I think people quite understand the training is very extensive. I mean, even after I was selected, at the time I was selected, I had 18 years in the Navy flying airplanes and doing engineering stuff. So I wasn't a youngster in years, but a new astronaut. I think they understand that the selection is high and the training is very extensive and very involved. And again, I'm kind of stumbling with giving you a good answer here. But
Was there anything that like surprised you specifically when you first started?
everything surprises you in a way because it's so different. It's new and different, which goes back to what I said about not being afraid to be bold and branch out and do new and different things. So in one respect, everything is different because flying in space is so different. I mean, on the other hand, it was a next step up from what I was already doing. It was a nice logical step up from flying in the Navy. So in that respect, it was I don't want to say familiar, but it did not surprise me because it's just a next step up. But it surprised me in that everything is so different, truly different. You cannot train for zero gravity. There's no way to do it. You've experienced zero gravity for the first time when you go up there. There's no such thing as a zero gravity practice room. So again, I kind of stumbled with that because it's kind of a philosophical question, but the main thing is just decide what you want to do and go for it.
Good morning. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you for being here today and such an enlightening speech. And I am so grateful that every day that I can walk and have a dream. I'm Latricia Jenkins. I am the director of the Boys and Girls Club here. Thank you for being that member.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And I am so proud of it to see many of my members here today and past members. But it's a 20-year dream that I have been walking and that I will continue to walk. My question to you is that I experience motion sickness and vertigo. How do you hold that down when you're up there floating around?
I don't experience motion sickness. Remember, I said different people are suited for different jobs. So I'm not a person that's susceptible to motion sickness. Now, I'm normal. I'm a normal person. The first time I had a flight in the cockpit of an airplane, I was a naval aviation cadet in training. It was a training flight with my Marine Corps instructor in the back seat, and so I got a little nauseous and all, but I didn't get sick, and the next flight I got better and better and better. My body had to adapt. So it's normal to feel a little queasy, to feel uneasy when your body does something new. But you should progress and get over it. Some people never get over it. And that goes back to what I said before. Everybody is not suited to do everything. Different people are suited to do different jobs. Certain people can be police officers. Some people can be emergency room doctors. Some people can be professors and teachers. We all can't do the same thing. So a person that has a big issue with motion sickness probably ought not to try and become an astronaut. In fact, you probably would get washed out before you ever got to that point. But I'm not sure what that has anything to do with you personally, but if it's something that you need to work over, maybe some people don't like flying on commercial airlines or whatever. And if you want to get to do that, well, there are ways you can get counseling and get help to learn how to do that. But things like that I enjoy. I take to it kind of naturally. We have a couple more?
Good morning. Thank
morning.
you so much for this amazing morning. And I want to thank the student for getting up so early to come out. My name is Sean Hoo-Hing King. I am the founder and president of Talented Teen Club. We are the fastest growing club in South Florida, building teen self-esteem. My question to you is, you have done so well and you've been so bold in your career so far. What's next for you?
Well, I'm retired at retirement age now. But having said that, I just took my most recent job was at Florida Institute of Technology. I was a professor there and then administrator, senior vice president. But I retired from that. And I failed retirements. I just picked up a job up at Kennedy Space Center at Delaware North Parks and Services. So I help do the programming and coordination up there. I'm at the point in life where I'm not looking to climb a corporate ladder. I'm not looking for that anymore. I'm kind of winding down my professional career. But I think my passion in life right now, the things I want to do in life, is kind of what I'm doing right now. I like speaking to audiences. I'm blessed to do a lot of this. And I especially like speaking to young people. I really do, because I want to share my points of view with our young people and be sure that they hear what I have to say. And I know what I have to say may be a little different than what some other people have to say, but I think it's important to hear all points of view, different sides, different perspectives. So my passion in life right now is to make a difference for the future, so that when people look back on me, they'll look back on me with fondness. In fact, let me go and close up. I remember one thing that Dr. King said, and I have to paraphrase it. I think he said when people look back at him, they want to remember that Martin Luther King was a person that tried to help somebody. Remember that comment? You know, he didn't say anything about his books and fame and all. He just said Martin Luther King was a person that tried to help somebody. Well, that's what I want. I think my purpose in life now is to leave the kind of legacy that when you all look back on this day 50 years from now or whatever, that you look back on it with fondness, and that what Winston Scott said was something good to you and it made a positive difference in your lives. And the same thing with those of you who are not students. As you look back on this day, I hope you will look back on it in a way that I did and said something positive and something good and something helpful. It might not have been comfortable, but it was helpful and good. So with that, I'm going to close. I know you folks have other things to do today. But thanks again so much for having me. I appreciate it. God bless you.
I don't think I've ever heard anything more positive, especially on a difficult subject. But I want to tell you a couple things about Wellington while you're here. We are the reason that there is a boys and girls club. We were the first boys club who said, wait a minute. It was Wellington where that happened. So we are a little bit unique also, kind of like you. We don't fit into any particular category. One other thing, the owner of Delaware North actually lives here in Wellington. So yes, so we are so happy to have you here. And I can't even imagine how there's so much to your story that you didn't share today. But I want you to know that we do understand. I'm just a few years younger. So I started in a school that was integrated, but it really wasn't. I mean, there was a half of the cafeteria that was the white kids, and half of the cafeteria was African American students. My class was 60% black, and that's where I graduated, North Shore High School. I graduated with Derek Harper was a year older than me. So, but it's so wonderful to have you share. But I just want you to know that your walk has been something that we felt a little bit of it, but we've all had that walk. And we are such a unique community and so happy to have you. So, and we have a day of service coming after this. So I know there's more organization planned. So Ian, are you out there? He's in the back. And Ian has a story. I love Ian's story. You guys, you might have heard it 50 times, but Ian started here in the finance department. He's one of the brightest people, customer service guys. There's no one more friendly and helpful than Ian. He played football with my son. But on top of that, he was being wasted. That voice inside of him, I'm telling his story, which is so wrong. I get that. But the voice inside of him was saying, I don't like finance. There's people who love it, but it wasn't him. He wanted to be around people. So I'm so proud of this village. I'm proud of his supervisors who looked at him and said, he doesn't like what he's doing. Let's find the place that he fits, and let's find the place that we all fit together. So Win, so happy to have you, and glad to be a part of your story today.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, well, we want to say thank you very much for coming out. I'd like to bring Paulette up, if you don't mind, because we do have an awesome service award project that we're going to do. Paulette, would you like to explain what we're going to be doing downstairs?
Thank you, Ian. Good morning, and thank you so much. That was absolutely amazing, and I'm proud of all of the students here in Wellington, but especially Ms. Toussaint, who, by the way, she is she's over the BLAST program, but she's actually the Ms. Toussaint. Where are you? Yes. So Ms. Toussaint is science and math. She is one of the #1 rated math teachers in Palm Beach County. So thank you for that. So we have so obviously, Martin Luther King always wanted us to give back. So our Day of Service project is downstairs. The students are going to be giving back to other students. Many of you may or may not know, with all of the economic troubles that are going on right now all over the country, but definitely here in Palm Beach County, we have a number of families here who are experiencing homelessness. And that doesn't mean that they're sleeping in their car, and that doesn't mean that they're at a homeless shelter, but it means that they're not housed in their home. They could be living with a cousin, an uncle, friends, and that is experiencing homelessness. So our project is we're going to be putting together hygiene kits and snacks and goodies. We have socks and underwear. A lot of the counselors at our schools have told me that one of the needs for our kids are additional socks, underwear, so we've been collecting that. And so downstairs we're going to be doing that, but our students are going to be participating in that along with some of our volunteers. So thank you so much, Ian, and I hope that you guys have a great and amazing day.
Awesome. And so as we conclude, we want to say thank you to very much, Mr. Scott, for that awesome presentation. We want to say thank you to our village council for making programs like this available to our community. We want to say thank you to our awesome sponsor of the breakfast, Wellington Regional. Thank you so much. And we want to give a special shout out to Wellington Florist and Trader Joe's for the awesome flower arrangements for the tables. Thank you very much for coming out today. We greatly appreciate it, and thank you for making the Village of Wellington a great hometown.